Okay, good evening, everybody. Welcome to another session of our weekly webinars organized by the Malaysia Alumni Group. I'm your host for tonight and the moderator for the session. My name is Anand. I've graduated in AXP4 back in 2005. We have two distinguished guests with us tonight. One is Alfa. I think it's any amount of introduction to Alfa is less. Because he's one of the most active members, and I think he's got us pretty much like a spider web in all groups across the entire Chicago and this part of the region. Our other guest is Shahram. He's also he's graduated from Chicago back in 2004. I think it's a full-time program. He's also he's just moved here to Malaysia as well. A few house rules. This session is being recorded, so it will be live on YouTube later. So for those of you who missed this session, can always catch this up later. And of course, there's many more speakers who are there. Why don't we just dive in quickly and let me do a quick full introduction to Shahram as well, much more in depth. Of course, Shahram has been in private equity for the last 24 years. He's worked across the globe with various responsibilities. As you can see, I don't think there's any area or sector that he's actually not touched, being part of the private equity groups. But his passion remains education. So he's bringing that education to this part of the world with a 423-year-old school looking to expand in this region. His education, of course, is from Chicago Booth, as well as Boston University in economics and international relations. He's a board of directors of many companies in the Middle East, as well as served some of the royal families in the Middle East as well. And I'll let Shahram give you a little bit more about him as well as we move forward. The next speaker, of course, is Alfa. Again, as I mentioned, Alfa is a technology enthusiast. He's got pretty much his hands everywhere. He's always in touch with the Chicago Booth Group. I think he's the first one to put his hand up and say, hey, if you need help, just talk to me. I'll connect you with the right kind of guys. So he's sort of the flag bearer in this region. Him and Ludo do quite a lot of work for the Booth community. So thanks to that. Alfa, of course, is an entrepreneur, adventurer in many ways. He's worked for companies like Apple, Rockwell, Procter & Gamble, Johnson & Johnson, just to name a few. He's done consulting in various sectors, manufacturing, energy, healthcare, and e-commerce. Again, what I see with most of the speakers is they're very passionate about education. And in education, it's all about connecting people, right? So that's what they're doing. Moving forward, in terms of education, he's got a graduate degree at the University of Chicago. He's done some courses with Cape Town Business School, a master's and bachelor's degree in electrical engineering, and of course a computer associate's degree in Atlanta. So I think the list goes on, and we're all forever learning. So why don't we jump straight into the next discussion point, which is with Shahram. So we'll start with Shahram today, followed by Alfa's presentation, and then a Q&A session, and of course, broader questions for the community as well. So if you guys want to ask questions, there's a Q&A section and also a chat section. Please feel free to write your questions there. I will be moderating and I'll be collating those questions, and I'll ask the speakers that. Okay, without further ado, let's start the session with Shahram. Shah, it's all yours.
Okay, so I'm with Aldenham Education Group. Aldenham Education Group is a 423-year-old school group out of the UK. Out of the UK, we were established, go to the next slide. Yeah, there you go. So Aldenham Foundation has 5 schools in the UK under 4 different brands. We have Bluebird Nursery and Kindergarten. We have the St. Hilda's Prep School for girls. That's an all-girls school. We have the Aldenham Prep School and an Aldenham Senior School. Aldenham Foundation was founded in 1597. We're one of the oldest operating schools in the world, one of the top 100 oldest operating schools in the world. We're 423 years old. and we educating children from ages 3 to 18, and we have boarding and non-boarding. Can you go to the next slide, Anand? So Aldenham Education Group, which I'm the managing partner, heading up here in Southeast Asia, and we have another managing partner in Dubai, is the commercial arm of Aldenham Education Group. We're expanding the Aldenham brand globally. So we have both a commercial and investment team. As you see from my background, I'm in private equity. I was investing in schools. And then we have the full education and operations team from the UK that are part of our group. And so the Aldenham Education Group is an all-round, it's a very unique structure. Normally, many of the brands that you see that come to Asia or globally are franchises. Aldenham Education Group is not a franchise, it's not an agency, it is Aldenham. And it's embedded with that as a commercial and investment team that's growing globally. Go to the next slide. Anand, please. So this is, no, back up. So this is our campus in the UK. We're located 25 kilometers north of the UK. One of the fun facts is that we're competing within the very competitive school market. The North London school market is where all the famous and very exclusive brands are: Westminster, Eton College, and so forth. One of the fun facts is that Aldenham Education Group is one of the two schools that actually invented the rules of football. And we have a very strong football program, and we have a tie-up with Arsenal Football Club. Another fun fact about Aldenham is actually one of the reasons why we're in Malaysia is actually the current king of Malaysia, the Agong, is an alumni of Aldenham and is very active with the school. You can stop the sharing now, Anand. Okay, so that's just an overview of who we are. Within the education sector, which I want to speak about today, there's different segments. We have the K through 12 private sector, private education. We have the higher education, which is private universities and colleges. Then we have the vocational training, we have ed tech, we have English language, and we have tutoring. So I'm going to be speaking mostly about the K through 12 space, which is one of the more exciting spaces within the education sector. I'll make a few comments about higher education because this is a very hot topic. Now, the title of today's call was, why are investors clamoring to get into the education sector? Why has there been 900 million invested here in Southeast Asia just in the last 30 days? Within the K through 12, within the education sector, has several variables that make it very attractive for investors, especially private investors, private equity, family offices, and pension funds. One, education is a resilient sector. So even in bad times, the education sector, similar to healthcare, continues to do well. Now, currently we're going through a situation where we have COVID-19 where the schools are closed. We've never had a situation where schools are actually closed. But even now when the schools are closed, you're talking about a 20% potential discount this year on the revenue as people are giving discounts. And then it will go back. We feel that when the schools open up, people will go back up. And actually COVID-19 has shown to parents and the public how important schools are, how important teachers are, and how the mental well-being of the children are to be in school. The second reason why private education, K-12, is such a great sector is that it's non-discretionary spend. So you have to invest in, you have to spend money on education and healthcare, especially in countries here that we're in Southeast Asia and emerging markets in Middle East. The government education, the governments are not equipped and do not have the resources to be providing high quality education. Even in the Middle East, where we have schools and where Aldenham Education Group is established in Dubai, even the government sector, the quality of education in the government schools is poor, even though they're wealthy countries. So in many of the emerging markets, the private sector really fills the gap of really providing higher quality education. Now, and especially in this time period now with COVID-19, a lot of people are looking at the education sector, and later I'm going to be giving two case studies. I'm giving two case studies of exact comps that have happened, the two deals that have happened here in Southeast Asia in the last 30 days. Now that investors currently, even though we have the COVID crisis, there is still a lot of dry powder with the private equity firms that had raised record funds in the last few years. Now, the other sectors have become less attractive because of COVID, or less, I would say uncertain. I wouldn't say less attractive, but uncertain. So hospitality sector, travel, tourism, entertainment, F&B, and retail, there's a lot more uncertainty about those sectors and how they're going to rebound. Whereas the education sector, especially K through 12, you have a huge visibility of cash flows. In a K through 12 school, you actually have negative working capital, where you have parents giving tuition up front in the first year, in the first of the year, or the first of the term, and then the services being provided. So the schools have steady cash flow and steady revenue, which is what investors like. Now, why Southeast Asia? Because we as Aldenham Education Group are global. We're in the Middle East. My colleague and partner, Alec, who's running the Middle East office, we're focusing in the Middle East in Oman and Saudi Arabia. And why Southeast Asia? Why come and grow in Southeast Asia? And how do we want to grow in Southeast Asia? First of all, Southeast Asia has a growing demographic. As a stable and growing demographic, you have a lot of younger population that are coming of age. Second, you have a rising income in the middle class and making it education affordable. So the affordability of education. So now more and more people, countries like Vietnam is a great example, where the Vietnamese have increased their stature. And now, our school that we want to open in Vietnam, you're going to have majority of them Vietnamese, not expats. So the Vietnamese have the income has grown. They've grown up the kind of the ladder, and they are now able to send their children to private education. Number three, in Asia, there's a high value of education. So families really value education. And we see a lot of this here, where even in the middle income families, you have a situation where the grandparents and the parents are contributing to the child's education. So you even have grandparents pitching in, and sometimes grandparents pay all 10 years of the school's education. So there's a high value system because of the culture in Asia and the importance of education. There's a high value system and the willingness to pay. So these are the reasons why the education sector is so buoyant, whereas even within COVID-19, which I'll talk about two examples. Now, with us, for instance, in Aldenham Education Group, we're growing within Southeast Asia in three ways, which is important to understand the industry in general. One is we are partnering with real estate developers and investors that own land, that will develop schools, and we will invest the capital to operate the schools and open the schools, and we will have a 20-year lease with the real estate developer. So that's your traditional opco propco, where we're the operating company and the real estate developer is the property company. That's one way, is new schools. The second is acquisition of schools. So we're looking to acquire schools where we think we can add value, where we think we can improve the education quality, we can improve the operating performance, we can position under the Aldenham brand and increase the value of that school. And then the third way where we're expanding is through management agreements. Okay, so we have school owners who approach us and say, I have a school, I have opened the school as just myself and my family, but we don't have a professional management. Can you please come and operate the school? Can you please come and rebrand it as an Aldenham school? Or can you, and someone who wants to build a brand new school and says, can you please come and put an Aldenham school here? We want to own the school. We want to get the upside, but we want you to manage it. So these are the three areas. One is new school development. Second is acquisitions. And third is management agreements, like a hotel management. Now, Anand, if you can go to slide 39. I want many of the people, and I know my booth colleagues all like numbers and multiples and cash flows. So I want to show some numbers and try to demonstrate. Yeah, thank you. I want to demonstrate, many people think of education not as a high profit type of business. They think of it as a public good, but it is a public good that brings high income. So these are the 4 largest school groups in the region. I'm going to use one of them as an example to kind of tell the story of how this school group developed and where it is today. So Inspired Education was founded in 2013 by Nadeem Nassouli, right? Nadeem was a private equity guy who had an interest in education and established Inspired. They made their first acquisition and they were backed by, when Inspired first started, they were backed by Oakley Capital. So Oakley Capital funded this team to expand and acquire schools and develop new schools. TA Associates came in and invested in 2017. On that deal, TA Associates came in 2017, Oakley Capital sold only part of their stakeholding, and they made a 3 times cash on cash return on their money, just in 4 years. They still owned, so they got their money back. They got 3 times on their money, and they still own shares in the company. In 2019, Warburg Pincus came into Inspired and invested, and Inspired was then valued at $2 billion at a multiple of 20 times is what Warburg Pincus came in and invested. And just last month, in June 2020, GIC, the government of Singapore Sovereign Wealth Fund, invested $400 million into Inspired, buying out Oakley Capital, the remaining shares of Oakley Capital, and put in in the middle of the COVID-19 crisis, invested $400 million into Inspired. This shows, why would the government of Singapore invest in the middle of COVID-19? Why would they invest in the education sector? The reason is they see a long-term cash flows and a long-term cash flow cycle. And now Inspired, after this deal, Inspired is worth $2.5 billion. So what started in 2013 with a $50 million investment by Oakley Capital has turned out to be a $2.5 billion company 7 years later. Cognita is trading at 25x. Nord Anglia is at 24 times, and GEMS is at 17 times. So here, a school group has several advantages. Why does a school group demand high valuations versus an individual school? I will discuss that as the next case study. The reason the school group demands high valuations is, number one, diversity of cash flow. So Inspired is all around the world. They have schools, 55 schools all around the world. So any one school goes down, you have other schools that, providing the cash flow. Number two, education, as I said, is a high cash business. There's a lot of cash flow and there's a stickiness to the cash flow. And the fact that you have a breadth in different countries and you have a breadth in different locales, you get a premium for having that diversification and then being larger, right? And our goal as the Aldenham Education Group is to be the Inspired of Southeast Asia. Adnan, can you please go to the next slide? So now I've discussed how are school groups valued? What is the multiples of a school group? Now let's talk about an individual school acquisition. And it's amazing, we were very fortunate that we've had 2 deals in Southeast Asia in the last month, which is quite interesting. So on June 19th of 2020, Maple Leaf Education, a Chinese company, acquired Canadian International School for 680 million Singapore dollars, which is 489 million USD. Okay, so let's talk about, as we know, the University of Chicago loves multiples and numbers. Let's talk about multiples. What does that mean? $489 million for one school in Singapore, right? So if we look at the cash flow, that comes to a 13.2 times multiple of EBITDA. However, there is also an upside. So there is an earnout provision within that structure, which will allow for another $40 million Sing dollars to come in if the management team achieves their numbers. They will get 720 million Singapore dollars, which comes out to a 14 times multiple for one school in one small country. So here we have an example of a deal done. Now, why is someone investing $500 million to buy a school in the middle of the COVID-19 crisis? Because of stability. Canadian International School is not going to go away. Their cash flows are not going to really decline. They may have given a little bit of discount, but for the next 20 years, 10 years, 20 years, the Canadian International School will be in Singapore, will be one of the best schools in Singapore, and will be providing good earnings for Maple Leaf. So these are two examples of one school acquisition versus a group. How is a school group valued and how is one school valued? Anand, can you remove the presentation? So that's really what I wanted to talk about as far as K through 12. I want to just a couple of points because I'm sure there's going to be a lot of questions in regards to higher education. That's the hot topic. So higher education is not as attractive of a sector as K through 12. And why is that? Higher education was having some issues even prior to COVID-19, as people were stating, what is the value? What is the value that I'm getting to go to higher education? As the prices have been skyrocketing for tuition, and they're getting to extremely high numbers, $70,000, $80,000 a year, $90,000 a year, people have been questioning, can I do it online? So I think COVID-19 has just pushed the higher education down the road that it was already heading down. So as though K through 12 is very attractive and it has a lot of growth, higher education, unfortunately, is going to have a lot of challenges going forward. And that's what I wanted to speak about. And Alpha.
Okay, it's a perfect transition from K through 12 to sort of pass it on to our next speaker, Alpha. So I think I'll hand the session over to Alpha, and then we'll come back to the Q&A after this.
Very good. Let me just slide this. Okay, so I think the first thing I would like to say is, thank you very much to the Global University of Chicago, our network, most importantly to the Chicago Booth family, or you can call it network, and also our brotherly and sisterly love of our Chicago Booth family here in Southeast Asia. It's a privilege, and also it's a great honor to be here with a person I consider a friend, Brother Shahram, and also Brother Anand for this kind invitation. I'm very excited to be here to showcase you and share more information about what we consider the future of learning. We are in the e-learning, we are in the edtech space, and every time I'm always talking to my friends, they say, you have the right product at the right time, in the right region. As you all know, globally, the world has been affected at a very large scale. Many schools are closed, or some are partially opening up. Companies have been affected, and the development of manpower across the workforce has been disrupted just because of the COVID effects. So at Prospark, we are the online learning vehicle that stands for Professional Spark across all the different sectors. Our product is in the enterprise space, The product is also in the SME space. We're also playing in the education sector. On the education sector, I'm the guy who need to go to Shahram and sell my product to him, because we are pretty much we are the digital machine, right? And you can learn anywhere, anytime. So what I would like to walk you through first is a quick overview of Prospark in a very short few slides, and I'll give you a little bit of overview of the state of the EdTech e-learning market globally. I'll be very short because I would like to prefer maybe we have more questions, make it very interactive, and also complement some of the key ideas and factors Brother Shahram was already shared. Okay, so I'll begin. So who are we? Like I say, Prospark is a learning management system that incorporates our vehicle, the LMS itself, allows anybody to learn anywhere at any time. We always pride ourselves that learning should be fun, learning should be flexible. In companies, in vocational training centers, in schools, in homes, we are a company that's providing the flexibility that the world needs as of today. We are a company that is in the same shoes as Zoom, that people can still work remotely, communicate peer-to-peer, have their meetings, continue their work progress, despite the disruption that has been happening in Southeast Asia. Okay. We are mainly focused here in Southeast Asia. Headquarters is in Singapore. And mainly we have 2 operation offices. One is in the Philippines, in Manila, and also in Cebu. We also have our biggest operation here in Indonesia. So we have 2 offices, one in Cyber 2 Tower and also one in Core Hive. But as of present, everybody's working from home. So our transition to digital nomadism has been efficiently easy, just because we are also in the online space. So this is our presence, and our vision for the future is we are very ingrained in targeting Southeast Asia as of now, because we believe in the upside, especially some of the macro information Brother Shahram mentioned in terms of the number of young people in the region, the digital revolution going on in Southeast Asia, the mobile penetration rate, the internet penetration rate, and also a lot of investment happening in the education sector. So we believe Southeast Asia is the place to be, and we see a lot of positive indicators that online learning, both on the education side and also on the enterprise side, is pretty much going to take off. So, if you think about our expansion plans, we're already exploring some things between Singapore and Vietnam with some of our incoming investors in this round, which we're closing shortly. So we are very excited that Prospark is a vehicle that is making some noise, and we are providing a solution that Southeast Asia and also beyond might find very helpful. This is just our vision. I won't bore you too much on that. I think our vision is simple. Education changes lives. We believe that people should be given the flexibility to learn anywhere at any time. And if you empower people with the resources they need to access information from their fingertips, whether it's in a boardroom, whether in a coffee shop in Starbucks, whether it's at the airport, whether they're sitting in their toilet, they can still learn, right? And what Prospark contribution want to be in the world is a company that enabled the next generation of learners to take it to the next level. Okay, so that's our foundation in our mission, that is our vision, and also the values that drives us to continue to create the best product this region has ever seen in respect to the whole edtech space. This is just a quick overview of some of the challenges faced by companies, or you can name it by schools. This is across the board, right? So in respect to what's happening right now, of course, the cost of in-person training, right? Right now, in-person training has been absolutely decimated because of COVID, right? The cost of training itself, the cost of traveling. And you think about it in the education sector, I'm pretty sure Brother Shahram can speak about it. If you're pretty much 100% offline business model, people come into class every day and suddenly COVID hits and everybody has to move from home, you don't even have a vehicle or an online portal to shift. Imagine that the challenges of providing that blended experience from the onset. This is a challenge a lot of companies face for the past 4 months. I can speak about firms in Vietnam, firms in the Philippines, and also here in Indonesia. So companies are now studying, or organizations in general are starting to keep up, to move faster, just to meet the demands of the new norm, right? So that's what we see in the market, and this is what some of the things we're trying to provide as a solution. Okay, this is just we believe that in overall we have a product that's easy to use, easily adoptable, easily customizable, enhanced from one client to another. The product is already overbuilt. We pride ourselves in our gamification, adaptive learning, our virtual learning, which is one of the biggest hot commodity within the edtech space. Every universities out there and K-12, vocational training centers, companies, nonprofit, everybody is using a virtual conference feature right now. So if you look at the statistics in respect to that, there's a lot of projections that virtual learning itself as a market is going to grow by compounded annual growth rate of 11% in the next 5 years. Before, it was going to be a growth rate of less than 2%. So within the past six months, you see a drastic shift in things that are pretty much digital, online, right? And even if when you look at the market, it's not only the ed tech, the online learning space, right? Last mile delivery, ride sharing services, e-commerce, right? You talk about go food, right? Things being delivered, go fresh. So we see that there's a lot of a move into that digital space. Okay, this is just a Prospark way. I'm a former Apple Inc. guy from Cupertino, so there's always something called Apple Way or Apple Partnership or whatever. But this is what keeps us in check. This is how we go to market strategy, how we work with our partners, how we solve problems, and how we believe in data to be able to improve the way people learn, to be able to scale the way companies address their learning, scale the way schools reach out to their students. Because in simple, at the end of the day, our vision and mission is to help people become better citizens by providing them the tools they need to learn anywhere at any time and improve within their organizations, graduates from their universities, and also knowledge transfer. Okay, so quickly, this is our product. This is the enterprise. We go to banks, we go to insurance companies, we go to manufacturing companies. They can use the products. Whatever company you're like right now, whatever online you're using. Is classified as competitors. So we have an enterprise product, which we provide to HR organizations, training companies, and they can, they can onboard all their employees, upload their content, and they can start to train their team members. Okay. We also have a new product version which is released for merchants. I think I'm very excited about this product because this is one of our new COVID baby. So we are excited to know that we see a lot of demand in the e-commerce space. We see a lot of demand in the ride-sharing space of companies want to integrate with our merchant LMS to some of the ecosystem. We have some very, very big news we'll share in the next few weeks, because we Prospark literally have the biggest client in our journey. So we're very excited about that. So we cannot talk about it right now, but we'll share the news at the right time. Okay. There's also the LMS for education. Like I've already said, we are very, very interested to provide our LMS in the university space, in high school space. Our main key target market areas right now are Indonesia and also in the Philippines. A lot of schools were drastically affected when COVID hit, right? Indonesia has about almost 4,000 universities, right? And maybe 85% of that are private universities, maybe 80%. So maybe 3,200 universities are private. And we estimated that about 70% of those schools literally had no system, or their system was not ready for what COVID had to reach out. So we suddenly got a lot of requests coming in from local institutions, director of learning, director of ITs, both from the Philippines, from even Thailand, and also in Vietnam, because people just say, I need a platform that can provide the continuity in educate our students. And we never had that product. So we built this product within 2 weeks because we believe our back end within our enterprise is very flexible, very dynamic. And this is what we are now offering in the education sector. So, Brother Shahram, I can send you a proposal after this meeting. Maybe you can write me a check because you're throwing a lot of numbers out there. So we can make it happen. So yeah, so we are very bullish about this space based on the numbers we see. The World Economic Forum recently reported that 1.2 billion students globally have been affected, or they have no way of accessing their learning materials. If you look at the news from the Philippines, President Duterte literally is instigating there won't be no school year this coming year, right? And I'm sure you also saw the news coming from the United States, where I'm from, whereby we had a situation whereby some maybe international students could have been affected, right? So we believe that Prospark will be that vehicle that can address these gaps in the market. We're excited with the immense demand coming from the pipeline across the enterprise, the merchants, the SMEs, and also the education side, okay? Last but not least, we have a product, Prospark for SMEs. As you know, SMEs also been affected drastically because of the COVID. This is our new product. We also developed it as part of the COVID adjusting of our portfolio. We saw a big demand coming in because most of the SMEs don't have training budget. They don't have an HR sometimes structure that can do all these different things. And for them to transition in terms of onboarding new employees, providing some form of a baseline COVID alert, basic trainings, compliance, leadership, they never had anything because everything they had was all depending on in-person training. So what we did is we actually developed a stripped down version of our platform, which we rolled out about 3 weeks ago. And we're excited to share that we're already at 15 SMEs in terms of our traction. Indonesia has between 70 to 80 million SMEs, massive market in that space. And our main target within that 80 million total addressable market is maybe just 5 million SMEs, all right? So, and we're charging this product for maybe $150 a month, up to 100 users. So you can also do your economics to see the upside and the value for that. Not only are we providing the LMS, we're also on the content side. I think I can, okay, this is just some of our clients. I'll share with you about our content strategy. Some of the players we are working with, some of our partner. We also partner with PwC. We're also partnering with Muhammad Institute and some of the content partners. So holistically, our strategy is in the LMS and also on the content side. Okay, content specific to the enterprise, SME space, and the merchant space. We are also playing with on the education side, whereby we're starting to formulate strategy of how we can push our LMS and integrate it with so much different content specific to the education sector out there. So we believe that by creating a one-stop shop, we are providing a comprehensive service that will benefit our consumption from enterprise clients and also to the students, okay? This is just a quick success story, and this is just that. Let me quickly walk you through, just for 2 minutes, what e-learning market look like, okay? I'll just go to one slide. I don't wanna, okay, so let me just go to this slide. So when people think about the e-learning industry, I know the people say e-learning, online learning, edtech. From a quick overview, what you see is e-learning industry is a very segmented area with so many different buckets, okay? You have the corporate side, which Prospark is playing in, where you have different service providers. Some people provide rapid online learning. There's virtual classroom, which is now one of the hot bread and butter space because of COVID. LMS, where we are also playing in, and also application simulation too. On the other side, on the edtech space, there's a product and services and vendors. You have academia, where you also have mobile e-learning. You have knowledge management system. We're in the learning end with the LMS space, but now we're also playing in the LMS and the learning content management system, right? Globally, this is a big market, $240 billion corporate and academic e-learning space, right? And when you bring it home to Southeast Asia, right, when you think about the e-learning space within just Indonesia, you can estimate that the space is about $15 billion market just for e-learning, right? These are the numbers pre-COVID. And then when you go to China, you go to India, you talk about, Philippines, there's a lot of upsides in terms of the growth. So let me add one more slide okay. So when you think about e-learning, quickly, game changes. The future of learning is what we call gamification. Learning should be fun, learning should be easy, and learning should be specific. We do not believe that one size fits for all is the best solution for everybody. We believe that a personalized learning experience that is adaptive, that makes people want to engage, people want to learn, is where the future is. So you think about trophies, badges, leadership boards. Another thing we also think about is micro-learning, right? We don't believe people should do like a course catalog way of learning with the enterprise or maybe in SMEs, and maybe also in the university space. We believe that sometimes people just need to know certain specific information they need to do for a certain specific activity on that day, right? And this is what you see LinkedIn Learning has been pushing a little bit more on that, and a couple of bigger players in the market have been doing that. So last but not least, like I said, you think about gamification, think about micro-learning, you also think about virtual learning. So right now, the hardest, fastest growing space in the edtech space is virtual classroom, right? You think about Google Classroom, you think about Adobe, and also now you think about Prospark Learn, which is one of our products within this space. So I'll stop here. I don't want to take too much time. I'll hand over the mic to our one and lovely brother Anand. Thank you. Terima kasih. God bless you all.
Hey guys, thank you. I think this is very informative, and I guess, you know, if you're not in the sector, it becomes really hard to sort of grasp the amount of knowledge and the amount of information that actually flows through. So to our viewers who've actually been viewing, and I think this is the time to ask you questions. I'll open the floor up to both the speakers as well. So to brother Alfa, I think one of the things that I think, according to the WF forum, was about 100 million people are out of jobs now. And yes, you know, if you've heard about a company called General Assembly, they are actually leading some of the training for getting them equipped with new skills and stuff like that. So adult education is definitely becoming an important thing. How did you sort of come to that sector and say, hey, adult education is important, this is where I want to be, and why was Indonesia a choice for you?
Very good. So I didn't come to Southeast Asia to start an e-learning company. I came to Southeast Asia because my brother lived in Singapore, and I was sick and tired of being in New York City on the A train. So I flew from New York, and I got to Singapore, and I just fell in love. I was like, oh man, this is a beautiful country with beautiful weather. And I started traveling all over the region. I went to Bali, I went to Chiang Mai, I went to Bangkok, I went to Manila. I just fell in love with Southeast Asia. I enjoy the coconuts, actually. The coconuts is what really made me stay. So throughout the whole travels, what's so exciting about Southeast Asia is just the energy, right? I mean, it's just the energy. I mean, the culture, the people are just amazing. This is a beautiful region with just interesting people who just are hungry for the next big thing, right? If you look at a lot of young people, for example, in Indonesia or in the Philippines or in Vietnam or Thailand, people are just thinking like, hey, I'm developing the next app. I'm developing this, I want to have the next biggest thing in the region. So just the sheer level of the energy among these millennials and the youth, I saw that something was interesting here. And of course, when you land into Indonesia, you come to Jakarta, you get stuck in traffic. And I was like, this is a lot of people in this country, right? And then you start to go looking at the data, the macro. You start to see, hey, there's a lot of going on. There's e-commerce, Tokopedia, Bukalapak going on in the region. There's also ride-sharing services. As you know, Gojek is one of the unicorns in Indonesia. You also look at Traveloka, right? The online travel agent company. That's also in Indonesia. You also think about Bukalapak, the e-commerce is also another unicorn. So there's a lot of interesting online businesses going on in Indonesia. But at the same time, what you see across Southeast Asia, one of the biggest gaps and a lag in a sector is education, right? At some point, you need to invest in human capital. Most people, when they come to Indonesia or to Philippines or to Thailand, they say, hey, I want to establish a company, but what's the problem is there's a limited skill sets based on the demand of the labor force, right? So we believe that in this region, e-commerce is picking up, ride sharing is picking up, health tech is picking up. What sustains all these different sectors? We believe that's education, right? And that's why we're coming into the e-learning space to provide all the pillars that sustains all these different sectors from actually growing. So we are very bullish about the market. And let me just quickly answer your question, your first part of the question. We see a big opportunity in the upskilling space specific to the vocational training centers through the government. Prospark is in process to work with the Indonesian government to participate in what we call the Prakerja program, which is targeting more than 20 to 30 million Indonesians who have been affected by COVID, to help them to train, learn new skills. And we're just going to provide the vehicle behind the scenes and try to make it, try to make a living out of that. So we're providing the vehicle, helps people to learn. So you see this across in India. There's also a push for upskilling. You also see in the Philippines, governments are being serious about investing through the Ministry of Manpowers or Ministry of Industries to really address that. So yes, where I see a very big opportunity is in the vocational training centers in partnership between the private sector and also with the government services. For us, what we are doing is we are partnering with the government and also partnering with content companies and training companies, and we are the ecosystem and the vehicle that glues everything together. Right, so I can take my vehicle in Malaysia and push it in Malaysia, I can push it into the Philippines, and I can push it all the way to Zimbabwe just by the flip of a button.
I mean, it's interesting that you say that, because growing up in India, we used to see two segments. One is, I think, tech-based skills, and the other one was, if you are specialized in a particular skill, then you actually get trained for that particular skill, like machining and stuff like that. So with automation and everything else that's coming up, do you see that people are going to have more specialized skills as compared to general skills?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's when you start to bring the micro learning, right? Because in this economy, if you don't have the right skills for specific jobs, you're going to have a tough time to actually get a job, right? I don't think COVID effects will be a little bit as more positive to people who are more like generalists, especially in the tech space. You have to be a subject matter expert in a certain skill set for you to be able to get away from the unemployment labor force. So we think that there will be a demand for certain specific people with certain specific skill sets as compared to a generalist. That is our outlook. That's what we hear from the HR space. But I'm not saying, this is one size fits all across the board, but we're speaking for those industries with highly specialized skill sets demand. You can think about tech, you can think about automotive, you can think about manufacturing, high-end manufacturing. But if it is more like, restaurant, even in restaurants, right? Because a lot of things are going to change, right? So if just a person who just know how to say hello, somebody walks in the restaurant, you don't even know how to use a cash register, you don't even know how to wait the tables, you don't even know how to count, to serve the menu, you're going to be affected, right? So every company is going to look for people who have some sort of specialized skill sets, but you can also plug them in so many different spaces to actually fill in the hole. So in conclusion, it's going to be quality versus quantity.
Right.
Right. And that's when you start to bring the technology space. And I'm sure Brother Shahram can provide a perspective on that. Please go ahead, brother.
Yeah, it's interesting. Sorry, go ahead, brother.
I think, in education right now, and there's a question from the audience in regards to Indonesia, which I will answer as well. I think with education, we already have implementing this into our curriculum from K through 12. And this is why actually people are moving to private schools versus government, because we are putting things into well-being, wellness being, critical thinking, analytical thinking, having classes on robotics, having classes on coding, having classes on STEM. So a lot of the things that when we were younger, we weren't taught, right? We didn't have a coding class or an AI class or machine learning class or robotic class in our schools. I mean, I went to one of the best schools. Those things are going to come into the K through 12 program. And so a lot of that, like coding, for instance, there's going to be classes for coding in schools and sections in coding in schools. And a lot of the technologies that Alpha is talking about, the blended learning, we will have this coming into the classroom. So, AI will come into the classroom. Content will come into the classroom, and to help the students be able to be prepared, because the parents are scared about what's going to happen for the jobs of tomorrow. So you know that the government schools are not going to be able to prepare you for the jobs of tomorrow. So that's why they're shifting to the private sector. And within our curriculum, we're being very innovative, bringing these innovations and new classes, not your traditional just math and English, but bringing all of this innovation in on the technology side and AI side and so forth to enhance the education. And then there's a question here from one of the, that's sent to me from Hong Tan, asking, it says, Shahram, you're bullish on Southeast Asia. What do you think about Indonesia as a market where schools have to be owned by nonprofit foundations? This is a great question about Indonesian market. This is one of the reasons why you haven't seen major investors come into the Indonesian market, is because of these rules about nonprofit. However, even with the nonprofit sector, there are structures where there is a for-profit arm that is providing services for the nonprofit. So there is ways of structuring around this. And there is a lot of actual hope that potentially going forward, the regulations will be more friendly. So Indonesia is one area that's actually an open market for education, because historically school groups and private equity investors haven't gone in there because of the regulations. But there are ways that we feel that we can structure transactions in Indonesia, and we feel that over time the government will be changing potentially some regulations to allow more international aid. But it's the same situation in India. And there is a way to address that, to have a nonprofit school, but a for-profit services. So I wanted to just answer that question from Mr. Tan.
Yeah, I think we've got a few more questions as well from. I hope that the audience will actually write their names and not make it an anonymous attendee, because there's one specific for Vietnam in Hanoi. He's actually currently in AXP 15, doing some education business in Hanoi. He's asking, how's the management contract structured? Who owns the school brand in terms of the ProCo and OpCo? In terms of the management contract, how much accounts for the percentage revenue? So I think those who have actually asked these questions, if you could actually point your names out, then what you could also do is you can actually connect with the speakers at a later point in time to discuss this in much more depth. But I'll let Shahram sort of answer this from a structure point of view for Southeast Asia and in particular Vietnam.
Sure. We can talk details offline, but I'll talk about the generalities. What we would do is, as Aldenham, we're unique versus other groups, where if there's a school in Vietnam where there's the owner who's developing the school, we will come and say, okay, we want this to be an Aldenham school. So we will come and sign a 15-year management, 20-year management agreement with the owner, where we as Aldenham do everything from setting up the school to hiring the staff, to writing the curriculum, putting the policies and procedures, designing the building, putting in the specification of the building, doing architectural designs, design competition to get the best architects, operating the schools, policies and procedures. So we will operate the school. So we will, it's like in the management agreement, it's like, for instance, let's say Ritz-Carlton. Ritz-Carlton doesn't own the building. They're the manager of the building. And there's basically a percentage of revenue that's provided to the manager for providing that service, and some fees up front for all of the costs, and then the percentage of revenue, which I can talk about offline.
There's another question here from another attendee, which is, apart from operational efficiencies, are you looking into edu-tech in anticipation of higher usage of tech, especially in the new norm? I think this is a blend of both of you, right? Because there's the traditional schools, and then you're talking about edu-tech, which I think COVID-19 sort of, I'm in the healthcare sector and the education sector. The doctors were not ready to sort of use tech, but now because of COVID, they were, but at the same time, the question would be, how much of online tech would be used? Because, as you started the discussion today, you said Parents now appreciate schools. Parents now appreciate teachers. So you can't take away the human element, the social skills element by just performing check, right? So what percentage, according to the both of you, would remain in from the check point of view? Because people skills are still very, very important.
Mhm.
I'll start and I'll turn to Alpha on EdTech. On the K through 12, the technology is going to come inside the classroom, right? So it's going to be a blended learning. Now, when you look at a higher education, higher education is getting disrupted severely because of online learning. So you don't need to spend $70,000 anymore. You can go online and get that education. However, K through 12, there still needs to be a physical building where the children go. The children cannot stay at home, right? I think a lot of parents can voice their frustrations over the last few months, having to not only take care of their business, take care of the home, but now also take care of the education of their children and teach their children online. So the K through 12, the school building is not going anywhere, but the school building will be more enhanced. There'll be technology that will be brought into the school building that will help the teachers to teach better. That will bring content and use, as Alpha said, use basically customized learning. So each student will have a customized learning and get a better experience and have a more learning experience. But it's going to be a blended learning. It's going to come into the classroom. However, higher education will be impacted more severely, but K through 12, it will still be a physical building, but with content brought in. And Alpha, I'll turn it to you.
Yes, yeah. So I holistically agree with Brother Shahram on this one, and I just to take some of the words from his mouth, definitely you cannot color brush the whole industry as one, because there will be mixed responses and there's also mixed results. From our perspective, we believe that across the university space, is what Brother Shahram, there's going to be severe disruption, specifically in the university space. There will be a lot of consolidation post-COVID. I'm sure consolidation is already going on right now, and most of the things or students will be taking courses online. Okay, so if a school in general, in terms of numbers we're running internally, if a school was all in-person learning at the university space for 100%, we believe post-COVID, there will be at least 20% minimum online engagement, right? Which is being pushed on them because of the current crisis. So I don't believe a sensible school, university that is teaching for the future, that is priding itself from being resurrecting from the effects of COVID, post-COVID, they'll go back to exactly the same thing they were doing in 2019. I just don't believe any sensible university will do that. And I believe that university won't be there for a long time. Okay. So what we believe that every education institution, specific to the higher learning, will be changing post-COVID, not even post-COVID, they're already changing already, right? And as he said, from the early K-12 level, the grade 1, grade 2, grade 3, definitely you still need the presence of a teacher in the classroom. I think that's always going to be very important. Human touch is very important, especially in Southeast Asia or in Asia in general. But we also see that the market is actually experimenting on the comfort level of using remote learning from the corners of your home. So we believe that mothers will play a bigger role also in enabling maybe their students to do a portion of their learning or homework assignments from the comfort of their computer. Okay, we know it's too early for these kids, but we believe that the market is forcing people to change, right? So one thing I always love to say is, when you look about Southeast Asia, before COVID, some of these markets, you have to educate them on the benefit of e-learning, okay? With COVID, these markets are being forced and they're actually being educated by COVID on the benefits of remote access. But yes, that's what we see in the university. When you look into the company side, every company in the world I would say aggregating in let's say Indonesia or the Philippines, we believe that at least 50% of all the companies that have never used online learning, everybody's using Skype or Zoom or something related to that in some shape and forms in the decision-making process. Post-COVID, if a company is going to implement exactly what they were implementing in January of 2020 and expect a different result in a mode of a crisis, we believe that company won't be competitive, right? So, we don't expect 100% shift from online to offline. It's not going to happen. That's nearly impossible. But we expect that companies that were all 100% in-person engagement will have some form of a blended education, learning and development structure for their employees. Why? Because working from home is forcing every company in the world that's realistic, that wants to stay and competitive, to adapt and to use different technologies that keeps them going. That's what we see in the market, and that's our own market outlook.
Thank you. I think there's a couple of questions to sort of end the session. I think these are both to you, Alfa. One other question is, how do you see traditional trainers transition to online learning? What are their challenges in adopting to this new way of learning or training?
Absolutely. So I don't think this question is only for me. It's only for Brother Shahram. I'm sure they're also training teachers and they're training people there. So I would love to hear his perspectives after I provide my insights here, because I think we are all in the same space. So the way I look into this is the traditional trainers were severely affected, okay? Especially in Indonesia and here in Southeast Asia, Philippines or Vietnam, no matter what it is, right? Because typically these markets, people pride themselves like, I'm a trainer for Mandiri Bank, I'm a trainer for UOB, I have to go to the UOB office, I charge $150 per each person per head, 5 days a week, people fly to Bali, they have hotels, they have all these different things, and it's just a cost on the company. When COVID hits, company says no vendors, no partners should come to our offices. What do? Right? So it's been a very big challenge for offline trainers, whether it's a small company offline trainer or it's a big company offline trainers in every market, especially if their strategy was all 100% offline. What you started to see when the market hit, when the effects hit of COVID, you started to see a lot of trainers hosting a lot of Zoom sessions, 250,000 rupiah for 1 hour. You go to Philippines, maybe 50 pesos for each person to come in, right? Skype, same thing, like on WhatsApp, people are like, because they are trying to respond to what just hit them because they wasn't ready for it. And then when they started to use Zoom, they started to realize like, okay, Zoom is not really a training platform, because on Zoom, you cannot take a course. You cannot administer a pop-up quiz. You cannot access any content. You cannot really share different insights in regards to data from one screen to another and exchange information, what a learning management system does, or a training platform based on an LMS vehicle like what Prospark does. And you started to see them coming to us and say, hey, do you have like a training platform that can do this? Because what I'm using is not really sustainable, right? But here's the most exciting part of this, right? So we have our own technology, which we pride, like Prospark is going to be the game changer in the game, and we believe in that. But now when customers have used Zoom, right? So for Prospark, you're still a startup, you're still trying to learn how to grow, to grow your feet to walk. Now the customers or the trainers, their perception and their validation of a quality product is now based on the Zoom experience. So when they come to Prospark now, they say, wait a minute, I need all these different features Zoom can do, and I want that to be done in LMS, right? So I'm like, no problem. How much can you pay? Right? So it's amazing how this training industry is being disrupted. And for us, we believe what we're doing at Prospark is we are building an ecosystem of all these trainers to use our platform to train their clients. That is the way we're expanding our product within the enterprise space, within the government sector, and also within the NGOs. We are providing them Prospark for Trainers platform. They can onboard all their clients, they can track all their users, they can do everything they can do, of course, without the physical presence. So yes, I cannot say we are happy about COVID because COVID is a disaster for the world, but we are also excited that the market from trainers, from the HR directors, from the L&D, from the university professors, from the educators, and also from the IT departments across all the different functions, they are having discussions with us at a different scale. Before, it was a different animal, but now it's more like, tell me how much it costs versus why in the hell do I need an e-learning platform? Oh, please.
Yeah.
And I would like to hear what Brother Shahram think about it. Please go ahead, brother.
I think with the training, one of the things that we pride ourselves in the Aldenham is doing teacher training and really enhancing. And one of the great ways that we can come into different countries and take, for instance, you come into Vietnam, in Malaysia, in Thailand, you have you have great locals that have certain knowledge. They have knowledge of physics and math and so forth. But you need to train them how to teach, right? Just because you know calculus and you're expert in calculus doesn't mean you can teach calculus, right? Or you can teach physics. So one of the things that we do is looking at training these teachers and bringing them up to the speed. We always bring in expat teachers. We always bring in expat teachers from the UK and others that are going to be there. But we also want to, one of the ways we add back to the society and how we give employment when we go to, let's say, a country like Vietnam, is to hire Vietnamese that are intelligent, that can speak English, that know their subject matter. But now we can teach them. So now with a product like Alpha, we can just have our teacher trainer come and give that training course, but do it in a kind of interactive way where they're learning the material, right? Looking at a video online doesn't mean that you're grasping the information. There has to be, just by watching something on Zoom doesn't mean I learned anything, right? Yes. There has to be interaction. There has to be question and answer. There has to be taking quizzes. There has to be, so teacher training the trainer is very important. Teacher training for us is very important. And we look at these tools that Alpha is mentioning as definitely supporting and making it more cost effective versus flying a group of teachers to our campus in London to be trained, or flying the team from London to Vietnam, 4 or 5 people from London to Vietnam, and doing a training session. So obviously that cut, if you have a great online platform that is able to deliver that cuts a lot of cost. So if Alpha has a great platform, all of that transportation cost I just incurred, I can give that to Alpha and so forth. But it has to be a system that is really able to deliver content. Higher education, when you're 19, 21 years old, you can sit behind a computer and you can be disciplined enough and you can get that. A 6, 7, 8, 9-year-old kid cannot do that, right? They're jumping around, they're moving around. So in that sense, as Alpha said, a lot of this online training and teaching has affected the universities. And right now in the university sector, the tier 1 schools, the Harvard, the Princetons, the University of Chicago's, they're going to be okay. But the tier 2 and the tier 3 are going to get hit hard. And there was some statistics that maybe 30 to 40% of them are going to be on a hardship row, where they're going to be, month to month. So really in the higher education, when it comes to the adult training, I see it as a training my teacher, I see it as a cost savings, right? Instead of flying people to the trainer or flying trainers to the people. So I think in that sense, it could be a positive.
Yeah, let me just add something. You mind if I can add something, Brother Anand? Okay.
Yeah, sure.
So I think Brother Shahram really touched some very interesting points here. And I don't want our team to really miss this one. One of the things which also Brother Shahram, I think, kind of hair touch is teachers, right? The way teachers train or the way teachers deliver their information. Another benefit that could also happen as technology adoption becomes more comfortable within the education edtech space is maybe this can also help to improve the quality of teachers. Yes. Because one of the challenges in this industry is not the number of teachers, but quality of teachers, right? So now we have some form of a data tracking mechanism or quick to market or quick to get to you that allows these teachers to get micro-learning trainings, to get some form of a learning structure that can also improve the way they deliver information, right? So I think that could be something that is interesting within this space. Then also number two, you know, like the way we look into this is, right, when you look into just the sheer amount of cost and waste companies or organizations or schools have been doing for all these decades, it's unbelievable, right? The cost of flying somebody from England to Malaysia, and you have to pay hotel, you have to pay them an expensive dinner, maybe a bottle of wines, a couple of cigars. I mean, it's an expensive experience. And then you need to start asking yourself, what is your, you know, your ROI based on your OPEX of just driving that person, I mean, bringing that person from England to Malaysia to do the same thing somebody could have done within 3 hours using Zoom, right? So now we started to think this model in a drastic way. And also one more last point, which Brother Shahram mentioned about Tier 1, Harvard, University of Chicago, they'll be just fine, okay? They have a big endowment fund, they have the money, they have the scale, they have the technology, they will be okay. But the Tier 2, Tier 3, decimated, right? We will see a lot of consolidation. I am so positive that Brother Shahram is going to make a lot of money buying a lot of schools, whether it's in high schools or K-12 or university space. There will be a lot of consolidation. And the number you need to see as this new school year picks up, of course, we're in different parts of the world, August, September, there's a lot of kids going back to school. The data you need to, this is the data point you, all of you guys, if you want to invest in this space or whatever, if you think about this outlook of the market, look at the dropout rate of students across different countries, across different institutions, right? I don't think schools will survive on a bailout, right? Because those revenues are going to be squeezed in. Right? So then how can schools adjust now? Are schools going to find new ways of getting revenue? What else is available? Possibly they have to do online courses, right? So you start to see that there will be a sudden explosion of new ideas of how these universities or schools can generate new revenue streams, because I expect a big decline in enrollment across all the countries, right? Because of COVID. And last but not least, you also start to think in terms of, okay, if you're generating real revenue through the online learning space, then what is the effect in terms of the people who are deferring from this year to next year? I'm sure you guys will know in university, there's some people not going to school this year. So how are schools going to adapt to that, right? So I think what's also going to drive within the supply and demand curve in that respect is the quality of teaching, right? And the quality of professors and the quality of content. That's what's going to drive people to take those remote courses at Coursera, at University of Chicago, at Harvard, just to be able to address this gap. So one of the benefits that could come with this is quality. And I see that as a benefit of what could happen as people in companies or universities respond to the COVID situation.
But not only that, right? I think, you know, having a see, like my company does a lot of deployment for education, schools and stuff like that. So traditionally the focus was more on the student side. Yes. But if you have a platform like yours, now when the content is available by the trainers online, now those trainers can deliver that content. Somebody could pick up the training at any point in time.
Yes,
you could actually do quizzes with the training. You could apply some sort of an AI so that they are actually looking at the material to see that they've actually passed those material. They've actually read those material. They've actually really taken that. So there's a lot of blend of machine learning, AI that could be applied to platforms of online learning to see that someone can actually take the course. Absolutely. The other thing that can also happen is it can also become a repository of training courses that people don't have to wait. You know, you don't have to wait for that particular trainer. Now, if you have a training block that's available for a multitude of people, right? So while they develop the next generation of things, while they develop new content and things.
This is why higher education this is why this is affecting higher education, because you can do all of these things and not fly to Boston to go to school, right? Yep. So you know, is it worth being on the campus or not? You know, is it worth paying the money to go to be on the campus? I think that's why higher education is the most effective. Within K through 12, it's going to help us, this technology and this COVID. One, people recognize that, hey, people went through the COVID crisis and they saw schools not prepared. For instance, us in Aldenham, we set up Alden Home, a portal called Alden Home, and we had all of the classes, all streamlined. We had our open day ceremony, all streamlined. So the parents got a seamless, going from the classroom to going online was very seamless. However, many other schools didn't do it. They didn't have the technology in place. They didn't have the manpower in place, the IT systems in place. And so they fumbled. So some of those parents will say, listen, maybe I'll send my kid to Aldenham, or I'll send my kid to another school that it was dealt with this crisis in a positive way, versus the schools that didn't, that dealt poorly with this crisis. So I think actually the private school, the K through 12, has become more important. Which schools are providing the best experience, the best technology, the best teaching, and where can my kids be ready for the jobs of the future? Because, you know, when someone comes into grade 1, when they graduate grade 12, the world is different. They need to be educated, you know, with top quality teachers and top quality content, so that when they graduate and they go to university, they can get a job.
And it's funny. I think it's interesting what you just said, bro. And it just reminded me something I saw in one of these blogs. This, you know, in one of our tech blogs, you know, online learning space, somebody posted, say, do we really need professors?
Well, right? I don't think we can actually say that directly. Let's not get too controversial about education.
I didn't write it. I'm just sharing what I had. Like, do we need professors? Maybe the market is, the whole professor market is also going to be disrupted. If somebody wanted all those blogs, I'm just putting it out there.
Well, anyway, so, you know, sort of coming back, you know, I always want to sort of keep this at 1 hour sessions, but the conversations are so interesting that most people who want to stay are still online. So I think I'll just take one last question, and I think we could end this, because I think everybody's probably waiting for dinner and their evening appointments as well. The last question is to Alpha. How Prospark business model compared to Ruang Guru? Are you competing in the same space?
Very good. So Ruang Guru mostly is in the education space, right? So they're typically targeting the K-12 schools. So they provide more like after school online learning portal for, like, you know, more, think about like a Khan Academy, right? Kind of a model. So that is their main bread and butter, right? Our strategy is, our main focus is on the enterprise space, the vocational training space. That's one of the differentiators. Within the education sector, we are providing the LMS for specifically universities, right? So we have some, like a little bit of a difference there. Ruang Guru, I think, is a great company. They're massive. They have grown amazingly well. I think late 2019, they raised a very big round, 150 million in the, should be Series C space. They've done an amazing job there, and we have so much respect for them. But yeah, so we see them as a good market validation in respect to this e-learning, online learning space. It also shows that Prospark is a young, hungry, aggressive baby who's also want to make a name for themselves in these markets. But we believe that our focus, our main driver of growth is going to be on the enterprise, the whole vocational space, because that's where the big need is going to be in respect to this upskilling that's happening because of COVID. So our investments, our R&D dollars typically go in that area. Of course, we're doing a lot of stuff also on the enterprise and SMEs, and also on the trainer side. But yes, Ruang Guru is a company we know. It's a company we really respect, and I'm sure they also know that Prospark exists.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you so much, guys. And for those of you who've actually tuned in, I think we have more sessions coming up. Thanks to Shahram for taking the time today. Thanks to Alpha for sharing all the knowledge and the key learnings. I hope all of you had some key takeaways. We have more sessions coming up, particularly in the education sector. And I just wanted to sort of share that. We're also starting with the Women Entrepreneur series as well, again, in the education sector. So next week on Tuesday, we have Maithili. How, basically, again, she's reshaping education in a lot of sense. She's based out of Dubai, followed by our global economic views. And I think this was the most popular demanded one as per our group. This was a session that I think ran up to an hour and 30 minutes or longer than that. So on the macroeconomics point of view, we sort of looked at it and said, it's a good point to sort of see what happened after the, the lockdowns were all relaxed. The governments are pumping free money into these things. So we have both of those experts, speakers coming on back online again. But other than that, namaste to everybody and have a wonderful evening. And I would also like to thank the Chicago Alumni Club of Malaysia for helping me out. Lenora in particular from the Hong Kong team and CK as well. Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful evening.
I also want to thank you, Anand. Thank you. Thank you for
Anand.
organizing this and doing all the hard work. You do a wonderful job. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, guys. Thank you.
Thank you, Anand. Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Okay.